definitely for some time was asked by customers and partners to make an entry, because I think the state of the grid today is very much a proprietary, siloed, verticalized system approach with a number of sub-networks. The transition to IP and specifically IPv6-based secure networks is part of the area that I think Cisco was asked to take a leadership role. And it's not just from a technology perspective. We work a lot with industry-level bodies, regulatory bodies on policy, shaping the policy, working with policymakers, as well as thinking about business process transformation and what are some of the emerging business models that will evolve because smart grid is happening today. Part of the grid today, much of the grid is based in substations, so we're helping to automate those substations from essentially what is today 40, 50-year-old technology to converged networks. And a lot of these legacy SCADA protocols are now driving onto an Ethernet IP-based network. But with the explosion of smart grid and all of these sensors and meters and everything that's now in the grid, there's an explosion of data. So if you go all the way back into the control center or the data center, now a lot of our utility customers are looking at how do we virtualize and consolidate our data centers to be prepared for this flood of data that's coming in. When you think all the way out to the premise now, whether it's a commercial industrial customer or a consumer out at the home, there's been a lot of attention around smart meters, which is obviously one endpoint onto the system, but this is really going to allow the interface between the grid operations and the efficiency that utilities are trying to drive and the customer or consumer experience that, let's say, the residential customers are trying to drive. Cisco has also invested in what we call the building mediator for our commercial industrial customers, where we're essentially helping to aggregate a lot of the information that comes off of building management systems, whether it be HVAC or lighting systems, onto an IP network. So a lot of that sort of onboarding onto an IP network is part of our offer as well. There's a law in networking called Metcalfe's Law, and it says that the value of the network increases with the square of the number of devices that come on. So the more devices that come on, the more the network value is recognized, whether it be from a security perspective, from a scalability perspective. How do we monitor and troubleshoot all of these devices? How do we provision them? How do we send updates down to all of these meters? That's stuff that we're taking an active role in helping our ecosystem partners with. Interestingly, for our commercial industrial customers, it's not as much about the meter. I think a building facilities manager in a commercial operation needs to think about the HVAC, lighting systems, all of the PCs, etc. So how do we, once again, now aggregate that information from all these devices and put in some optimization algorithms so that it's essentially, for instance, if we know that folks won't be in a portion of the building, we can shut the lights down. And that's not just sort of a, that's something that over time could be automated. All of this automation, whether it's about the lighting system or the IT equipment or the phones that are there, they all suck a lot of power. And when you do these types of policy-driven things in aggregate, that's the benefit of automation fundamentally. When you do that with sort of one converged network, then really what it's about is driving efficiency and lowering costs and helping the industry essentially accelerate to a better state. Our role is really as an enabler. So while we're very good at interacting with the IT folks who understand IP networking, now the IT folks are being asked to help, let's say, the operations side of the house, whether it's the facilities manager or the grid operations people, the teleprotection and control engineer, in a substation. How do we use these technologies to help them do their business better? They don't want to understand the ins and outs of IP necessarily, but they want to get the benefits that other networks have gotten out of these technologies. So I've been at Cisco for 12 years, done a variety of enterprise service provider applications, and I most recently was in the wireless and mobility space, which is always very interesting because there's a lot of applications. I think all of this stuff that's been happening has been kind of a warm-up for something like smart grid. Fundamentally, we're designing a automated and intelligent system, which is at a scale that we've never seen in an industry that desperately needs a transformation, and it affects everybody. My 9-year-old son came home from school one day and said they talked about smart grid, and since then he's asked, when I put him to bed every night, to talk a little bit more about smart grid. So kids are really compelled by this idea because now it's not just the black box behind the plug. They really want to think about solar and wind, and it's something that the education is starting a lot earlier. We just always assume you plug something in and it comes on. There's a lot more awareness, and so I think there's sort of a real personal passion because there's societal value, and it's also something that I fundamentally believe our company can play a huge role in. It's really a lot of fun and very exciting.